Alright everyone, what's up? Welcome back to another review. This time I'm going to be taking a look at Hatchet, written and directed by Adam Green. Hatchet is pretty much a horror movie homage. This movie is an homage to the classic horror slashers of the 1980s, and Adam Green and his team, you can clearly tell by watching this movie that they have an affinity for the slasher genre. This movie is a throwback to films like Friday the 13th. You know, you got your archetypical characters, you know, the token black guy, the dumb blonde, the bitchy brunette, and you also get, you know, an older couple. And the whole premise of this thing is that these group of people are going on a boat, or going like on a ghost tour in Louisiana. The boat breaks down, and they get stranded in the swamp, and they find out they learn the legend of this, you know, of this local myth known as Victor Crowley, who was accidentally killed by his father when a hatchet was swung into his face. Of course, there's also a little more to the Victor Crowley backstory. We find out he was born physically deformed, and actually kids on one Halloween were trying to draw him out of the house, and they accidentally started a fire, which of course led to Mr. Crowley accidentally killing his son with the hatchet. So, actually, right off the bat, Victor Crowley's backstory is, you know, very, very, very in the same vein as our Jason Voorhees, you know, the tragic backstory, where you have a little bit of sympathy for him, but he's not overly sympathetic, which is what I like. Because you still got to maintain, your villain still has to be a villain, and at the same time, you still got to hate your villain, especially when he starts ripping everyone to shreds, which Victor Crowley does in spades, and two things you need in a slasher: nudity and extreme violence. This movie has both. You get nudity, which was done very, very cool, because you have like this guy who's pretending to be a pornographer with these two girls, and every so often he gets them to, you know, flash, which is funny as hell. And you have extreme violence. This movie is gore over the top, the practical effects galore, and they look great. Actually, they look really, really fun. They look really, really, really cool. You know, there's this one scene where Victor hatches a guy almost in half, and you see his arm get ripped from the rest of his body. You see him pull this woman's face all the way open. You see her tongue flapping back. He takes this guy's head, twists it completely around, and then pops that shit off. There's this other scene where he takes this, I guess you could say, like a mini chainsaw, or like a leaf, or like a lawnmower or some shit, whatever, and pretty much he saws a girl's jaw off, and it looks glorious. And then he picks her up and then slams her onto this this rake type on the pole of a rake, and it looks great. So yeah, you know, the gore in this movie is beautiful. It's great, and for the most part, I actually do like the characters. The characters, I think, are pretty cool. Of course, the characters are written as your stereotypical horror movie characters, so they have all those tropes. But this movie acknowledges that they're trope characters, and it kind of has fun with it a little bit, which I really do like. You know, you got, you know, Joel David Moore, who plays the character of Ben, and Joel does a good job at, you know, trying to make Ben somewhat funny. Of course, he can come across as pretty bland and a wimpy crybaby. But you have his best friend, Marcus, played by Dion Richmond, and Dion Richmond, people will know from Scream 3. And Dion Richmond in this movie is actually really, really funny. He has a lot of funny jokes, and I actually do like the chemistry between him and Moore. They really do play off well with one another, and I can buy them as being best friends. You got Tamara Feldman, who plays Mary Beth, and I like the character of Mary Beth, but I don't like Tamara Feldman as an actress. To me, she comes across as very, very bland. Not a whole lot of emotion, and it looks like she's sleepwalking throughout half the movie. She has, like, her emotion ranges from almost there to not even trying. So yeah, Tamara Feldman, I can do away with her, but I do like the character of Mary Beth, though. The character is good, it just needed a better actress. And you got this older couple played by Patrika Darbo and Richard Raley, and you know, they are the stereotypical older couple, and they're fun. They got a couple of funny lines. so they're okay. You got Perry Shen, who plays Sean, this boat tour guy, and he, you know, he's actually really funny because he's faking a Cajun accent, and then he goes into like a completely different accent. So it's like he's faking different accents because you can clearly tell that he's put on a show with these guys. They take him on a tour, but he's pretty funny also. You got the guy Doug Shapiro, who was a complete sleaze, and Joel Murray does a good job with that. And you got the two broads who he pretty much cons into being in his movie. And they're good for the most part. The blonde one, who Mercedes McNabb, I don't really care for. I think her character is very, very annoying, and I just don't find her to be that good of an actress either. She comes across as just whiny. I just want to punch her in the face. And actually was very upset that we didn't see her death on screen, because I think if you would have showed her death on screen, that would have got a big crowd-pleasing reaction. Instead, you just see Victor throw body parts at Ben while he's in a woodshed, and you never really see her die, which is a damn shame. So yeah, that's stuff I like. Oh, this movie's also riddled with cameos from classic horrors. You get the entire opening is with Joshua Leonard, who people remember from the Blair Witch Project, and Robert Englund, and of course Robert Englund speaks for himself. And those opening 3 minutes is hilarious. Robert Englund, to me, has the best lines and has the best line in the movie, where he's making fun of his son. His son's taking a piss. A crocodile pops up, nearly bites his junk off, and then he has to leave the boat to finish his piss. And then Robert Englund has the best line of the movie, where he says, "Gone damn queer's gotta pop a squat to take a leak." Hilarious. Robert Englund has maybe 12 lines in the whole movie. He's only on screen for 3 minutes, and he's hilarious. And we also get a cameo by Tony Todd playing the Reverend Zombie. And for the brief 2 minutes that Tony Todd's on screen, he is over the top. He's hammy. You can clearly tell that he's having a blast playing the Reverend Zombie character. And I had a blast watching Tony Todd play that character because he's so theatrical with it. But it's Tony Todd. And if it was any other actor playing that Reverend Zombie, it would not be good. But since it's Tony Todd and he has such a charismatic presence to him, he makes those 2 minutes of screen time memorable. So, Tony Todd, you are a fucking god amongst men, my man. And of course, Victor Crowley is played by Kane Hodder himself, the real, the only, the definitive Jason, in my view. So yeah, and I actually do like the look of Victor Crowley being like this deformed elephant man. So I know some people don't like the look. I personally, the look doesn't bother me. I mean, as the film series progresses, the look gets much, much better. I actually do think that Victor Crowley's look in the third movie looks freaking much better than it does in this one. But I'll get to that when I get to that. So yeah, when all's said and done, I really, really do like Hatchet. I mean, yeah, it has some flaws here and there, but overall, you can clearly tell that the people making this movie really did make an old school American horror, because they brought this was made in 2006, so by that time the slasher genre was kind of like dead and buried, and you would get a couple here and there, basically from the old guard, and you weren't getting any newbies. So Victor Crowley and Hatchet, they were like the new kids on the block in terms of horror and classic slashers, and not a bad first outing, and this movie did a really good job, to me, at cementing Victor Crowley as a future legend in the horror staple of character, in the horror slasher staple of characters. I think Victor Crowley is a very welcome addition, and this is a good introduction to said character. And I also do like the ending too, where, and of course, I'm not going to spoil the whole movie. I do really think people should watch it. If you like horror slashers and just like to see blood and violence, give Hatchet a watch, because I promise you will not be disappointed, because it is really damn good. And I am giving it a solid 8 out of 10. And I illustrated in this video things that I liked, things that I didn't really care for, and fix some of those things. This movie could have been maybe an 8.5 to a 9. But in terms of everything, this movie is a solid 8. I like the cast for the most part. I like the practical effects. They look beautiful. Victor Crowley's great. Kane Hodder does a fantastic job of bringing Victor Crowley to life. I like the Victor Crowley legend. I like the guerrilla film style of this movie, how it looks low budget. But, you know, a lot of the old school slashers were low budget anyway. They didn't look polished. They look grim and gritty. And that's what this movie does. It looks gritty. And, of course, I love the whole swamp atmosphere. It's really creepy, very, very, very isolated. And that just adds to the intense suspense this movie does have. So, yes, 8 out of 10 for Hatchet. If you haven't seen it, you'll like it. I guarantee it. Anyway, my name is AJ Legend. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Also, if you like professional wrestling, subscribe to my other channel in the description box below. Thank you and goodbye.